Afternoon. My goodness. I'm trying to get my Facebook Live going here, and I'm seeing some crazy things going on. But in any case, it is Friday afternoon, 4:16 p.m., January the 27th, and off we go with my Live with Tony videos. And I wanted to cover today the whole idea of building brain power, memory power. We can call it cognitive reserves. I'm reading a whole lot of different articles out of different magazines. One of my favorite articles comes out of a feature story of Scientific Focus. Another one's coming out of the Men's Health Advisor that is put out by the University of Massachusetts. Another one that's coming out is Mind, Mood, and Memory, coming out of the Massachusetts General Hospital. And then last one here is coming from the Cleveland Clinic, the Men's Health Advisor, all talking about the same thing. How do we build cognitive reserve? Now, what is cognitive reserve? To me, as I read these articles, cognitive reserve is talking about how do we enhance our brain muscle, enhance our brain power in a way that it helps us to minimize the onset of dementia or Alzheimer's. And boy, the search is on for that, from medications and pharma companies to mental challenges that we can go through that different universities have been writing about and studying and testing. And that has brought us to the interest in the USA Memory Championship. For years, we've been approached by a number of significant universities, and we're currently involved with several significant universities in a study that's going over 3 years on what do the memory skills and techniques that the mental athletes use in the USA Memory Championship have to do with their brain? And does it help them build a reserve? Does it help them make improvements? And so it really came to pass, and why I wanted to do this broadcast, in the current issue of Scientific Focus. Here we go, we'll get this right. In the current issue of Science Focus magazine, there's an article about talking about, does playing video games make you smarter? And what was interesting about the article is it really stressed that which the science world has tested us in the memory world to see if there's a difference of how we transfer the skills of practicing names and faces and numbers and words and comprehension. How does that transfer? And they distinguish between what they call near transfer and far transfer. And what they were saying here is the near effects relate to whether playing a game results in improvements in other games. So, hey, I did well on A. Does that help me improve B? I've learned how to remember names and faces. Does that help me transfer this into everyday life? And I would clearly say for sure, but we'll leave that for another minute. And far transfer relates to whether playing a game results in an improvement in cognitive abilities and or intelligence. So that's been the whole study in the world we live in with the USA Memory Championship, and whether these mental athletes that compete, are they able to take what they're doing in a memory competition, remembering names and faces, lists of words, tea party, decks of cards, are they able to use those skills and transfer them into other aspects of their life? And this has been the search for years. And what I would submit to the science world today is, after 23 years of doing the USA Memory Championship and studying what USA Memory champions and finalists have done, are certainly transferable skills that have impacted their lives. And I would just ask people to start by looking at the lives of Chester Santos from San Francisco and the difference it's made and what he now does in his life. Ronnie White, who's a former naval officer and management or leadership consultant on memory. Nelson Dellis, who's our 5-time winner, and what Nelson has been able to do. Josh Foer, who wrote the book Moonwalking with Einstein. I would submit to you, ask and study any one of those people and see what they've been able to do in their lives. Jim Carroll, one of my colleagues and associates, and what Jim has done in his life with learning how to improve his memory and how he's transferring that into so many different apps. And so I take the position, I'm not worried about video games. I'm more worried about how do I teach people to build cognitive reserve? What is it that they can do to improve their memories. And studying this for 23 years, Michael Dattino put together an online course called Maximum Memory Mastery. And in this course, he's taken the best of what these memory championships have taught us and what their capabilities are, and how you can teach people these skills that they can transfer into other areas of their life. And it's just one giant study of 20 plus years of people who have learned what the different techniques and methods are. And I would venture to say that the mental athletes that have taken these and applied them into their everyday lives are going to have a long-term benefit to their brain health. Now, am I tracking them? Am I doing a formal study on those? I've been at this now for about 30 years, and I've seen the difference it's made in the lives of people that we've touched over those 30 years. And it is life-changing. So what do we teach them? Well, first of all, we teach them the fundamentals. So what's the magic of this online course, right? Well, first thing we actually teach people is what is the human potential we have? Do we understand that we have an infinite amount of creativity, an infinite amount of storage from memory? Do we ever stop to think about, so what is our capacity? What is the possibility, and what are its limits? And I say to people, it's unlimited. Given an average human being with our average working brain and the right environment and desire that wants to learn and how to improve yourselves, my goodness, the skies are the limit. And I see that with people who have dedicated themselves to learning the systems and our techniques, applying those, practicing. I got to practice. You got to work at this. There's no easy pill. As some doctors say, people want the easy pill. This is not the hard pill or the impossible pill. It's give it some time, 20 minutes, 3 times a week. This is not asking for a lot when you're thinking about your health and your mental fitness. So we want people to understand. We want them to recognize that it's a personal decision to make, and that we're teaching you proven and pragmatic methods and techniques. And if you understand that the techniques have been founded by hundreds of years of study and research, and now the question becomes, why aren't we teaching these things? Why do we have to have an online course that brings these forth to us? And the answer right now is yes, I'm sorry to say. The next piece of it is we teach one of the fundamentals. In fact, we have a couple of doctors ask, can you teach me how to remember people's names and faces? And so it's a core ingredient in our memory championship, and it's a core element inside the USA Maximum Memory Mastery online course. How about what else do we do? Well, numbers are about us all the time, right? And we use our iPhones, and it dumbs us down a bit. And so how do people remember numbers? And what's been interesting in the memory championship is our champions have so many different ways of remembering numbers. And you would think, God, well, shouldn't there be a consistent process or one consistent way? And the answer is no. So we picked up a few of those differences in our work. How about remembering lists of things? I got to remember a list of to-dos. I got to remember a list of things I need for work. I got to remember how to read paragraphs. How do I read paragraphs and information and log that into a system that's been around for hundreds of years? And it's called the loci method, or the Roman room. And it's so basic and simple. You wonder why we aren't teaching this to people, because it's one of the core fundamentals in how our memory works, by how we link, connect, and associate, and how we build those connections to remember things in a document that we read, or in a essay that we're writing for a school project, or a test that we're taking. And how do we use that method, which has been here for many, many years, and teach it to people in a way where it's applicable and they can utilize it and do the far transfer of that knowledge and skill. And so those are some of the things that we work on. So we go for the numbers, the words, the comprehension, and how do we retain this information? So we give people a competition that asks them to remember the names and faces of people. We give them a competition that asks them to remember the string of numbers. We give them a list of words that they have to recall and retain, all applying these skills and techniques that we've learned from watching normal average people become memory champions and or just memory mental athletes. And it's been amazing as I've watched that over the 24 years that we've been engaged, and I've personally been engaged in this competition. It's amazing to me that we aren't creating a curriculum for people in schools and universities that will make the studying and the retention of information we need in our school or in our work, professions, in our personal lives. And what that does then to create the basis of creativity and how we can utilize our memories to enhance our own innovation and our own creative juices, and how we can use our imagination to go beyond any boundaries that we ever thought we were limited to. And that's what keeps me going. And that's what, propels us into our 24th USA Memory Championship this year. But these are some of the things that I want people to understand, because there is hope for everybody. And no one has to worry in terms of, well, gee, am I going to just wait till a brick hits me in the head and I lose my memory? No, what we're learning in our science and our researches and our different periodicals. Here we go. This is the University of Healthy Years, University of, yes, if I can remember who I'm reading here, that'll be fine, of UCLA. My goodness, how could I forget that? It's one of my favorites, UCLA. It's there, and the science is confirming that the things that our mental athletes are doing are the far-reaching goals of how do we transfer those skills and bring them into everyday lives. And we've got hundreds of people now that have been able to do that and demonstrate that. So it gets me excited, but it also gets me frustrated, because we're still climbing the mountain to get more and more people to recognize the importance of learning what some of these skills are, taking the time to practice those, and not worried about what pills or vitamins do I need to take, but hey, what can I do to take control over my own memory? Well, it's weekend time. We still have a few more weekends of football to go. We got the 49ers and the Eagles coming up on Sunday, along with the Chiefs and the Bengals. So not sure, who your teams are, but may you enjoy whatever the games are. I've learned how to enjoy the games, as obviously the Giants are no longer playing. I don't have to get stressed about who wins. But enjoy your football weekend, and we certainly have a full slate of college basketball in force today. So enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.